Sometimes people ask, will I still be married in heaven? Now, honestly, I'm not sure why you're asking this question. Some of you are like, I want a fresh start in heaven. And others of you are like, I can't imagine living without her or him in heaven. I don't know where you're at in that scheme or that pendulum. But the question still remains, will I still be married in heaven? And if we are married in heaven, and maybe you're like Liz Taylor and married 8 times, is heaven like Utah or what? I mean, how does that work, right? The scripture, again, is pretty clear on this one. The Sadducees came to Jesus, and they were trying to trap him. How many of you know that's a bad idea? Trying to trap the Son of the living God is just not a good idea. You don't want to mess with him and tick him off. It was a bad plan. They asked him, if someone is married and their husband dies without having children, so there's no one to pass on the family name, which was important in that day and age, then Scripture says that the brother was to marry her, but then that brother dies and they still haven't had children, and so then the next brother comes along and he marries her because they're still trying to pass on the family name, and that brother dies, and if you're fourth in line, you're thinking, I'm not sure I want to marry this lady. Does the word black widow mean anything to you? And they go and this happens 7 times, and then they all go to heaven. Who will they be married to in heaven? Jesus is just real plain spoken about this. He goes, that's just a really dumb question. Matthew 22:29, Jesus replied, your mistake is that you don't know the scriptures and you don't know the power of God. When the dead rise, they will neither marry nor be given in marriage. And in this respect, they will be like the angels in heaven. 1 Corinthians 7:29 says, my friends, what I mean is that the Lord will soon come, and it won't matter if you're married or not. Another translation says, the form of this world is passing away. Things in heaven aren't going to be the same in terms of the systems we have here on this earth. Now, when you think about it, in some ways, in all ways, really, there won't be any need for marriage. What are the reasons people get married on this earth for? They want intimacy, they want relationship, procreation, insecurities. They want to be loved by someone, and they want to love someone else. All those needs and desires and wants that drive our relationships, they will all be fulfilled in heaven already. There won't be need for it. We will all have intimacy. We will all have no need for procreation. All the reasons we have for getting married, all have been addressed by heaven itself. So Paul says you won't be married in heaven. Now, I have to wrestle with that because I've spent the last 28 years, had to figure out in first service, I remembered this service, I've spent the last 28 years with one woman. And a couple years before that, as we just dated before we got engaged and all that kind of stuff. And in the natural, my thought is, how can heaven be so great if I won't spend it with my bride? But then, as you start reading from Scripture, and you start getting a hold of this thing, what essentially God's saying is here, you're not going to have a less relationship with your spouse, but all your relationships will grow to that level of intimacy and openness and honesty and quality, and it will raise all of our relationships to that level. And so in heaven, there's no need for marriage because we'll all be in that place. All of our relationships will be raised to a level like that. All relationships will be of trust and confidence and closeness and total sharing and friendships. You'll be reunited with your spouse, and it'll be special, but all relationships will be special like that. Will I still be married in heaven? Scripture says no. And I have to deal with that. But then when you start understanding who God is, you start thinking he's going to lift everything else to that kind of level, and it'll be okay.